you start waking up every day and realize I'm free to be the best father I can, let's go, instead of, I lost my wife, I lost my house, I lost $500,000. When you start thinking about that stuff, you when you forget about it, you have room for the abundant mindset. You have room for, what are we going to do today? What kind of things can I teach my kids today? What kind of experiences can we have? So those two things, when we decide to have a good day and we realize we're a better parent, was just a game changer through that divorce.
You're listening to Divorce Party with Monica Casey and Tom Arnold. Our guest today is a certified divorce specialist. He is a coach for divorcees and for people in relationships, and you can even DM him for a free personalized tip. His handle on Instagram is Husband's Diary with Daren. Please welcome to the show, Daren Douglas.
So I couldn't imagine having, I had a really rough divorce, just because it was, divorces are rough in general, but I couldn't imagine having such a high profile divorce that it feels like the whole world is watching. And the first word that comes to my mind is humility. So when you're in a situation or circumstance like that, when you yourself go into it with a little bit of humility, and you only focus on the facts, like the facts of the kids, and you don't go into our exes know how to poke us. They know how to push our buttons. And when you have that feeling, take a step back. And I tell my clients this when I'm coaching them, is like, text me what you want to text her. And just, you know what I mean? Like, get it out of your system. Just don't give it to her, because you'll get this back and forth, and it'll start to boil up. And that's how things escalate in court. That's how your friends get subpoenaed. And when we tend to want to argue or defend ourselves, it's when we get into more trouble. So if we go into it with more humility and kind of sleep on the things that we want to say, or what I do is my ex-wife still frustrates me. I'm trying to plan a trip with my kids, and she's giving me a hard time about it. Everything that I want to say to her, I take my phone and I put in notes, and I don't send it, and I sleep on it. And then the next day or the next week, things just tend to work themselves out.
I think that's solid advice. A judge told me years ago, he said, don't put anything in writing you don't want your kids to read back to you in public later in their life. So we have a called OFW, our family wizard, or OFW, our family, yeah. And it's a way to communicate in the app where the judge can, and I really have worked on yes, no.
I love when Tom sends me the photos of from when he got served, and it's all right there. Everything on our family wizard. It's crazy.
Yes.
Anybody else that treated me or my kids like that, I would never speak to them again. I would never engage with them again. And part of her thing is, she's a bully. She's like, oh, you will engage. You will do this. And so I can avoid it most of the time because it's been terrible for me, my health, whatever.
What are some tricks that you tell clients to, other than like the notes and walk away or sleep on it? I mean, I'm sure go exercise, go for a walk. Like, what are some things that you might tell clients to do to kind of disengage in a healthy way?
Yeah, absolutely. So do what you're passionate about. Being divorced gives you an opportunity to pursue your passions. So whatever that is. And I kind of went back to my childhood. Like, what did I like to do when I was a kid? I'd like to compete in athletics. So I joined a gym, and I compete in those sorts of things. I always, and I didn't really tie it together. So for example, as a little boy, I liked cars. So I ended up starting a car rental business. And I really enjoy that kind of stuff. And it takes your mind, when you're fully engaged in the things that you're passionate about, you can dissociate with all the, I don't want to say trauma, but what's the word?
Like not giving that energy to the other person.
The thing I'm most passionate about, as you're describing those things that you enjoy, is raising my kids. Yes. I genuinely get so much. It's what I always wanted to do, have kids. I started later in life. I enjoy the minutia of each day, what we do, get ready for school, how the kids are different, they're growing, the time that I spend individually with them and together, and just make it. I'm a person in recovery too, so our thing is a day at a time, and probably because of some of this legal stuff, we've lived a day at a time. And I get up, and my number one job is to be in a good mood. Now, however, I gotta fake it in front of these guys, and sometimes that works. I forget I'm in a bad mood later, but I think when you have to live where you don't know if the rug's going to be pulled out from under you, it's not a great way to plan financially.
Yeah.
But you go, okay, what if this were the last day? I've had some serious health issues too. What if this were the last day? And I go, okay, that kind of keeps me. Well, we're gonna have to end the day on a good note. Or
us meeting once a week, I think too, like we're meeting so many amazing people, including you. What can you share about your experience of divorce and what it taught you? I don't know if you seem pretty level-headed and logical about these things. Was there a journey to get there? Like, how can you kind of talk us through a bit of that?
For sure. And I think the most important journey for me was to go back to something that Tom just said, is being a father. I didn't realize it at the time that I wasn't the father that I should be when I was married. I was worried about so much other shit. Like I was worried about trying to be a good husband, trying to be a corporate manager, and then and I wasn't taking care of myself at all. So what I realized, that I'm a better father now that I'm divorced. There aren't any really, there were barriers or rules imposed when I felt like I was married, like I can't do this with the kids, I can't do that with the kids, but we're learning together now. I remember when I was going through the divorce, my daughter was 5 at the time, and she asked me, "Why are you crying?" I was like, "Well, I mean, I miss mommy. We broke up, all these things." And about a year later, she asked me why I was crying again. I said, "Because I'm so happy. I have this opportunity now, and we're learning together." And we've had those discussions, my daughter and I, and even my 5-year-old son now. We start to have these discussions like, "I'm still learning. What do you need from me?" And there's another thing that I wanted to touch on, that I first experienced depression, like deep, deep, deep depression, even suicidal thoughts. I've never experienced that in my life till I went through divorce. And
Wow.
something that Tom touched on was choosing to be in a good mood. But it's really hard to do that, and that's what I help people do through one-on-one coaching and my group sessions. Is we can actually replace the thoughts that are causing that depression. If you're in a healthy mind, get a therapist. But if you're in a healthy place, you can start replacing those thoughts with the thoughts that actually create confidence, they create joy, and those sorts of things. So when you start waking up every day and realize, I'm free to be the best father I can, let's go, instead of, I lost my wife, I lost my house, I lost $500,000. When you start thinking about that stuff, you when you forget about it, you have room for the abundant mindset. You have room for, what are we going to do today? What kind of things can I teach my kids today? What kind of experiences can we have? So those two things, when we decide to have a good day and we realize we're a better parent, was just a game changer through that divorce.
Yeah, you talk about depression. I don't know that I've been diagnosed clinically depressed, but I have woken up with that sense of ominous sense, that dark feeling, and
Yeah.
besides pretending to be in a good mood, I've learned that I need to just do one thing. There's a million things that I got. The whole world's coming down on me, finance or whatever, but I need to do one thing, whatever that is. The first thing, the thing I don't want to do, the letter I don't want to write, the call I don't want to make, and then I need to do the next thing. And so far at night, when I look back at it, I go, okay, I got through that. That was not, by doing one thing at a time. I think it's very important. I also think the fact you're talking about mental health is very important. A lot of people don't talk about it. I do the cardio, though. I had a minor stroke 2 years ago, and I was so fat. I ended up losing 80 pounds, and I had to do cardio, and my elliptical's outside in the front. And every time I would get on it before, the kids would start, I'd have my headphones, they'd be right here arguing. I'd take them off, get off, and I kind of blame them. I can't, guys, I can't. Look how fat I am. I'm not Jim. I can't because you. But once they understood the situation with their dad, it's not they don't ever come out there.
But they know it makes you a better dad.
They say, Quinn, Dad needs to do that for his mental health. Which is.
Wait. Did you say your daughter's name is Quinn?
Yes.
Mine
Quinn.
is too.
Oh my God, that's a good name.
Yeah, that's crazy. My son's name is Sawyer. Quinn is 8. Yeah.
I love what you said about how you're a better dad than you were when you were married. And I find that to be true even with my daughter's dad. I think maybe in some strange way, that's also a gift of divorce for a lot of dads, because it forces you to, I guess, either be in the moment or decide that it's up to you to create the relationship that you want to have with them. Do you find that
Yes.
a lot of your clients, and are your clients all mostly men or both?
Most of my clients are women. I've only had about 90 to 95% are women. And I think to a couple things there. I think women are so much more in touch with their emotions that they're willing to talk about it and look for help and that sort of thing. And another thing, and the men that have worked with me, they've been awesome because they're open to change. They're open to talking about their emotions. They're open to learning more about themselves and really what they contributed through the divorce and that sort of thing. And it doesn't becoming a better father or a better parent may not come overnight, but over time we realize that we have not only are we forced, okay, I don't have anyone, but I think men tend to, and this is generalizing, you don't usually do this, but I think men tend to lean on their wives to raise their kids a little bit more. Okay.
Yeah.
And I was guilty of that when my kids were born. But then I was forced into a situation where I had to be a dad. And I allowed myself, when I was married, I wasn't allowed to make mistakes. Okay. So there were some rules, like you can't do this, you can't do that with the kids. I allowed myself to make mistakes when I was with the kids, and we talk about those mistakes. So that's the kind of relation, it got us closer. Okay. I'd be able to talk to my daughter about the mistakes I made, early when through the divorce. I'd be able to ask for her forgiveness. Like, sorry, I shouldn't have said that. I was in this kind of mood. I was sad. I was angry, and you deserve a lot better than that. So those two things, the fact that I had to be in the moment. I was forced to be a dad, and then I had the freedom to forgive myself, and make mistakes. So those two things I think are really powerful tools for single men out there that have just been through divorce.
I mean, I'm sure you obviously ask yourself all the time, like, how do we get more men to engage in working with people like you, or get
Bring
the
them
word
on.
out?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess just doing talks like this to just kind of get it out there. How long after your divorce did you decide to get into the business of divorce? What prompted you to jump into that?
I hired a team during the divorce. So I had an attorney, I had a therapist, I had a life coach, and my life coach inspired me to. I was writing a journal, and actually that came from my therapist. So I wrote this journal, and I realized, I was talking to my life coach about it, and she said, you should publish. So I was like, okay, let's do that. So I self-published this book. It's only 25 pages. It's a quick read, and I did that 3 years ago. And my life coach inspired me, and I used some of her tools in my coaching practice. My life coach inspired me to help others, because others, when I was starting the Instagram thing on a different account, others would come to me for advice, and I realized, okay, I'm going through all this shit. I'm gonna make something good from it. So that it just happened like that after publishing the book, and then working with the life coach myself. People just came.
That's something I learned is early on. My kids have never even seen their mom and I hug. That's how long it's been. That's how it's been. So there's not like, boy, I miss that with the old days that your mom were hugging or whatever. But I learned, and this is something I thought about very early when they were little babies. I got nervous, and I thought, am I going to be able to keep all this organized? Am I going to be able to do this? Am I going to be able to get him to sleep, to do this? And I learned I could do it all. There's nothing that I need anyone to do for me. And I know it's like that for men and women. And I think that that once you realize that, oh, I got this. And my thing is also the buck stops here. If there's a problem, I'm not blaming the mom. I'm not blaming the school. It's I got to figure that out. And like you said, you apologize to your daughter. We do have first of all, I learned how big I am. We have, because a lot of all these cameras inside and outside the house, it's also effective to go, okay, what did that look like? What just happened to my kids? My son and I get into an argument, and you realize, oh, I'm very big, and that these kids are very small. When I'm loud, it's loud. So I go, I got to work on that. But if they say, if they complain, well, you didn't do enough with me today, or you didn't do, I go, well, then I'm going to work on it more tomorrow. But we still got to go. We still got to go.
That's so cool that they're giving you feedback like that. And I can tell you're in it, you're doing it, because I noticed this when we first got on, and I think you created a core memory. Did your daughter paint your nails?
Yes.
I love that. That's a core memory.
Of course. It's kind of a regular thing around here.
That's cool. And that's another lesson that I learned through the divorce, is that created me a great relationship with my kids. That I looked at the kids in the divorce, and they were joyful. They were always they were happy to see me. They were happy to see their mom, and they would hold me accountable too. If I was doing, if I was on my phone for a little bit too long, they want attention, and that's how I know, like, okay, it's time. And when I was going through that depression, I look at my son and how joyful he was playing, and I was I want to be more like him now. So that's another thing, another tool you can use, like your inner child when you're going through that pain. Like, look at your kids. They're so beautiful. They're so full of joy. They're so full of energy, and we can actually kind of feed off of that and build them up a little bit too. That was an amazing experience through my divorce.
Well, and also they see how you're handling it, how you're reacting. And I mean, I've been to therapy on and off for years, and they get imprinted by that, the way they see you treat their mom, and other women. They're just collecting all this information for their future relationships and how they're going to react. I think it's so, I remember my mom and my stepdad split up when I was in college. So I was in that weird, I'm an adult, and I was kind of put in the middle in like an inappropriate way, but they had two little kids together. And my brother and sister saw two people divorce and handle it really differently. Like my stepdad, married right away and da 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 da. And then my mom kind of like curled up in a ball on the couch and was like victim and blamed everything, And so I can see that now in kind of like relationships that they're having as adults now. And it's all how you handle it.
That's so beautiful. I wanted to reiterate something you said, Monica, is that our kids are watching our relationships. So they're watching our relationships between our exes, but then because you're divorced, you have a new opportunity to create the relationship that's really special, that really meant to be. You can show your daughter how she should be treated through your girlfriend. Okay, so I'm blessed that I met this woman a year ago. She owns a dance studio, and I don't dance, so I went to learn how to dance. I figured it was something I needed to do, and she owns this studio, and we've been dating ever since. And it is such a great opportunity to show my daughter and my son how a loving relationship works. And I think it's so important because our kids, I mean, we modeled the relationships that we're around when our kids. So I think about my marriage and the relationships that I saw when I was a kid. There are some similarities there. Okay. So if my kids are watching my new relationship, it's a brand new opportunity to show how two people can love each other, how two people treat each other. And I think that was really special that you said that, Monica.
It's also good to see their daddy being loved, their daddy being that kind of relationship for them. Monica knows I've had one date in 7 years. My kids,
like recently, which is so exciting.
Good for you, Tom.
My son was very upset. I had to go out of state to do it, but
The modern world of dating. I know
Right.
Tom and I are both children of divorce. Are your parents still married? Are you a child of divorce?
No, and that's one thing that really hurt me, is that I grew up in a family that my grandparents weren't divorced, my parents weren't divorced. So I was fully engaged in figuring out my marriage and going the long run. And I think that was the most, because I had this vision in my head that I'd be the same way. And that was the most painful thing about it all, is that I had this expectation that was just, ripped away. And it was ripped away because, like, I'm not my parents, I'm not my grandparents. And we think about, like, the generational patterns that happen. Well, okay, that pattern stopped. I have an opportunity to create a whole new relationship, a whole new perspective. So it's funny. I just put in my resignation from my day job today to focus solely on coaching. And my parents
Awesome.
when I told them I was doing this, they were upset. Like, they were, what are you doing?
How were they when they found out, how was your family when they found out that you were getting a
Oh
divorce?
my
Were
gosh.
they kind of open arms, or was it like, what did you do? Or
No,
work it out for the kids,
well, they wanted us to work it out, but they supported it, which was very, very helpful. I went to Catholic school for 12 years, from
Right.
kindergarten to 12th grade. And I realized now, and I actually got back into the church when I was going through divorce, and was realizing that, any church is a great place to go when you're going through a circumstance like this, Catholic or any Christian, like any church, because there's a good community there. So I found community in a church, and my parents supported me, and they helped me with the kids every once in a while. They're happy to see the kids. And I think what they're most happy about, they don't even think about the fact I'm divorced. They see me happy now. They see me chasing dreams. So yeah.
I'm kind of jealous of people that have grandmas and grandpas close by that that can help out. Tom doesn't have that either. I don't know if that's just, yeah, living in the Midwest, or, oh, I don't know. It's awesome. What is your opinion or view of marriage in the modern world? Like, in today's world, do you think it's something that we need or don't need? Do you have
Oh
thoughts
yeah,
on that?
I believe it. I'm still very traditional minded about the marriage. I think it is it's a beautiful gift. And my first marriage I look at as a gift too, because it taught me a lot about myself, a lot about my vision, and a lot about, what wasn't meant for me. So I'm going to take all those lessons into the next relationship, and I'm super excited to start, well, I mean, the relationship's already started, to keep that relationship moving forward, because I think when you have a home with two parents and kids that love each other, under the same roof, I mean, you can't be beat, right? There are great single parents. I'm a single parent. Tom, Monica, we're all single parents here. But to bring someone in a loving home, with a different perspective, and the same goes for my ex's new partner. Okay, we have to look at our ex's new partner like an opportunity for our kids, to experience something they would never experience with us. And I've met the person, seems okay, so there's no danger. I'm not concerned for danger. So if you're in a good situation like that, you can even look at the co-parent's new partner as a new opportunity for the kids. So there is I think marriage is one of the most beautiful gifts, and it's so many lessons. And keep trying, keep trying, because I think it's how we're designed. I think as a humans, we're designed to have a partner, to figure out this crazy life that we have going on here, and it's only getting crazier, right? And if
Yeah.
we put ourselves into solitude, um solitude's good for a little bit to figure yourself out, but if we stay in solitude, I don't think we gain all the tools that we need to have a fulfilling life. So I'm still like a traditional, like, get married and figure it out together.
Yeah.
You'll get over that, but when you get divorced.
Stop. No, but I
Hey,
think it's
you went on a date, so you're getting back after
I
it.
think it's interesting that, your ex has repartnered, you have a girlfriend. What are your thoughts for, single parents, about timelines of when you introduce new partners to children and when you need to introduce your new partner to your ex because of the children?
So
And can you tell
unless
us how your first meeting went? I don't know.
yeah, no, it went okay. And here there are a couple guidelines that I'll give you, but there's no really timing guideline unless you have some sort of, court mandate or legal mandate regarding that. But it's so, and you can do this when you're dating. Take the kids, if you're dating another single parent, take the kids out to a public playground and just meet up there and see how they interact. It's so simple. It doesn't have to be a thing. It doesn't have to be difficult. You met someone at a playground. I remember, a couple years ago, I talked to a woman at a playground who was also a single mom, and she'd have
Mhm.
kids, and my daughter would kind of like nudge me, like, "Who's that? Who's that?"
Ah!
Like, that was no one. But actually, she's funny. She would ask for women's phone numbers in the grocery store. She's like, "You should hang out with my dad. What's your
No
phone number?"
way.
But
He's your
she
agent.
doesn't. Yeah, and some of them were married. Like, you could tell they were clearly married. And I'm like, "No, Quentin, that's okay. That's all right." But there's really no timeline. But and it doesn't have to be a thing. Like I said, go somewhere public, have a playground date, go to the beach, whatever that is. And then when it comes to introducing your new partner to your ex, just make it as natural as possible. There's going to be an event probably that the kids are at that you take them to. Hey, how you doing? That's it. Like, it doesn't have to be a thing.
Does your new partner, does she have kids, and does your ex's partner have kids?
He does not. My girlfriend has a daughter who's older, which, and there's a lot of dynamics going on there because she was an only child until these two come along. My daughter Quinn was the oldest. Now she's a middle, and Sawyer, he doesn't give a shit about anything. He's just always happy. So,
Well, I think
but
the idea of a play date, and I do this a lot of school. That's how I met Monica. Her daughter goes to my son's grade, and I was watching her with her daughter, and she's amazing. And we ended up having a lunch to talk about our divorces or whatever. But I think that if you could get play dates, you see, so that's has kids similar age
And no pressure, and
no
it's not.
pressure.
I love the public. It's almost like when you get a new dog, you take your
Yeah.
old dog out to a park to meet the new puppy. I feel like that's what
Right.
trainers teach. Side note, I want to go back to the fact that most of your clients are women to tie into how I met Tom. I think that's so awesome because I think, and again, a generalization, but me as a woman, I tend to gravitate towards like, oh, a female therapist or a female this and a female lawyer, even. But when I had lunch with Tom, just to hear a man's take on divorce and for divorces, just to hear his perspective, it helped me in ways I can't articulate and maybe even gave me some compassion for my partner
Yeah.
that I was divorcing because you're like, oh, it's all of them, or oh, he feels this way too, or I don't
Yeah.
know. Do you
Um,
think that that's kind of something that
Yeah, I think that's a dynamic, and I think a lot of women are starting to realize that, and it's part of the compassion piece, is that men generally they're trying really hard to be providers, and sometimes they don't know how to do it, and we screw it up, and we overindulge in our work, and we don't give enough time or attention to the relationship because we really, really, really want to try hard to provide everything, for your wife or your partner. And I think once you see that perspective and how much pain a man also goes through during divorce, like a lot of these, the high conflict divorces where the men are just being nasty to the women, it's because they're so upset inside. They're so insecure inside. They don't want to be a failure. I associated my divorce with failing. And it took me a long time to get over. I thought I was a failure. I thought I was a loser. Like all these things started bubbling up in my body. And you start to, and that's why men tend to lash out. But when you realize really what the deep down issues are and the pain that they're going through and the fact that they couldn't provide for their family, they didn't feel like they did enough. That's when you start to see those lashing out and the ugliness and the nasty words being thrown around.
And I feel like there's this kind of conversation going around, and I say kind of, but I mean, I'm reading articles and hearing people talk about it, but it's that a lot of men don't, it's not the like provider thing anymore, or like the hunting and then the women or the
Yeah.
guy, so there's like this, they kind of don't like, what do you want me to, they're like, what do you want me to do? I don't know what
Right.
to be now. How do
Right.
you feel like, you
So
know,
there's a lot of talk, about the feminine versus masculine energies, those sorts of things, and a lot of women, and that's fantastic. There's a lot of women out there that are chasing their careers and chasing their dreams and things like that. And a lot of the women that I've worked with, they go through the divorce and they're still in their masculine energy. They're still in the grind mode from the divorce, because you have to be in that sort of energy to get through divorce. You have to get things done. You have to chase things. You have to, hunt down things and just get it over with. And then we go into dating, and I do a lot of work from divorce into dating. And a lot of women feel uncomfortable going into their feminine and receiving, while the men are going through divorce. They're kind of they're in their masculine to get through the divorce, to get things done, but they're in their feminine, kind of just like, just, what do I do, where do I go? And that's where I think that's coming from, because a lot of those things are getting confused. And I'm so grateful I met this woman that I'm dating now, because she's so strong. She has a business, but she'll come home every day and be like, and let me provide. Like, I'm done with work from the day, you lead. And that's when a man can hear that, like, you lead. I mean, that's something like new in 2024, but it's not something new maybe 50 or 60 years ago. And that's exciting for a woman to put that trust back into a man. So there's a lot of healing that has to go into kind of receiving in that feminine energy for the women after the divorce, because they've been stuck in their masculine. And when they go into a dating situation and they're able to receive, that's a great sign that they're healed. And it's so important that they don't lose that masculine energy too, because I think it's fascinating that there are so many strong women out there that I've met that are doing amazing things like you, Monica. So there's just a balance that needs to happen through the healing stages of the divorce.
In fact, I know the reason you're necessary, one of the reasons, is because men, when they go through this too, who do they talk to about it? Like other
Yeah.
men, and even with Monica, she was the first person in her group that got divorced. And so she kind of, her, people are like, oh, I don't want the stink of that on me.
Yeah,
So
right, right.
you do need an
yeah.
expert. You need someone to help you through it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
hired my team. I had my lawyers, I had a therapist, and I hired a Reiki master who Tom has met,
Oh, yes.
which was so amazing because even though I had been doing therapy, and I mean, bravo to you for keeping a journal. That's like one of the things to this day I resist tooth and nail. I can't do it. I don't want my real thoughts written down ever
Hmm.
to be found. I know people say you can burn it or whatever, but I just can't do it. But I just remember thinking like I needed my energy to shift in a
Yes.
positive way. And whatever Reiki is for it's different for everyone, but it really helped me just release a lot, forgive myself, forgive XYZ. It was really a really good kind of rounding out. And then and like what you said, I did things like I dated myself,
Yes.
I just spent a lot of times doing, what do I want, need, and feel like doing? And
Hmm.
just do that. I mean, and obviously, I'm lucky I have a lot of really good friends that still would be my friend, even though I was the divorce.
Yeah. Yeah. And Reiki healing, that's one of the tools I recommend to my clients too. Reiki
Really?
healing, yoga. I've done breath work,
Yes.
and even acupuncture. I didn't know this until I went through divorce, but and this might be very common knowledge, but your organs hold emotions. So I felt like I couldn't breathe towards the end of my divorce, and I wasn't sick, I wasn't. It felt like there was an elephant on my chest. So I read a book called The Emotion Code, and it suggested that for alcoholics, their liver gets inflamed, and there's some anger. The liver holds anger. So for grief, the lungs hold grief is what I learned there. So I went to an acupuncturist. He's like, I got you. He said, there's one side effect. You might joy cry like next week uncontrollably at some point. I'm like, all right, let's go. So I got 2 sessions into acupuncture, and like 3 days later I just started joy crying. I was so happy. So that like
Awesome.
all those traditional things work. Like not only like I do the traditional church, but like Reiki healing, yoga, acupuncture, all that stuff. There's so many tools for out there for us to heal.
I was the lady that would go to the back of the yoga class, also because I just didn't really know what I was doing. And when you go to the gym and you get the little towel before you walk in the room, and I would just have it in my face the whole time, especially when we would do like hip releasing things. And I
Yeah.
would just be in the back crying in my towel. And I'm sure my face was bright red, and people thought, like, wow, she had a really good workout.
Yeah.
Yeah, this crying thing. Let's talk about that for a
Oh,
second.
yeah.
Now,
Talk about crying,
I've
Tom.
always been cognizant not to cry in front of my kids because I think they've seen a lot of emotional things. The other thing, it's not that I'm ashamed, would be ashamed of it. I just kind of kept it like, and I remember how my dad was, but that basically getting older. If I start talking about my kids, even on stage in a comedy place, I find all of a sudden I realize, oh no, I should stop because I could feel myself, that feeling coming up, and I
Yeah.
have, and I remember there was a son in a situation at school. I went down, was still trying to go places with their mom, and as I started talking about my son with the teacher, I started, the first time I got choked up, and I remember my ex-wife going, "What is wrong with you? What is wrong with?" I go, okay, this is the thing. I'm not ashamed of it. Being sober makes it much easier to have these feelings and to have emotions. I am looking forward to joy crying,
Yes.
but I do have joy. And I'll tell you, you go through something rough like a divorce, and your joy goes. That's just all there is to it. And then
Right.
after you get a little settled, there'll be a moment where you're like, oh, that feeling, I miss that.
Yeah.
And then you
Yeah.
start feeling like, how do I get more of that? And
Yeah.
so you're right. How old are you? Can I ask how old you are?
I'm 38. I'm 38.
Oh, young man, young man.
Yeah.
And do you think you're going to get married to this young lady from the dance
I
studio?
think so. Yeah. This is the first time I'm saying in public. So
Yeah.
yes. She's perfect. So I'm gonna take her.
Oh my gosh. So you've put in your notice at your day job,
Yeah.
going all in. So my one last question for you, and then I'll let Tom, if he has one. What do you do at the end of, coaching sessions or things like that, at the end of the day to sort of like recalibrate your energy or, especially if you have a client that's going through something really heavy,
Oh
do
my
you have
gosh.
a little ritual to kind of detox or?
I really don't. I go to bed, but around 9 o'clock Eastern time. I'm on Eastern time. So if I have time, I'll read a book. I'll watch. I watch YouTube videos. I'm a space nerd, so I'll pull up like YouTube videos about the universe and just watch that for like 20 minutes just to get my mind into space, I guess, and then go to sleep. But I wake up. I work out at 5 a.m. and that's a routine that I've kept for I don't know, 5 or 6 years now. So I think, getting that sleep and then waking up early and getting after it has really gotten me, I guess, kind of detox.
Right. Well, I always tell people too, I feel like when you are consistently exercising, no matter how spread thin your schedule is, it's like you always have that energy. You have more energy
Hmm.
because you're taking care of yourself that way.
Yep.
You can't fight all the battles in your head. I get worn out enough that I can't, when I exercise, which is every day, after that I go, okay, whatever's going on up here, I just can't fight all the battles. And it just makes life better. Let me tell you what I think about you. This is my.
Let's hear it.
You are. I know you were talking about masculine, feminine, and I get that. And but a lot of times when you hear men talking about, oh, America's losing their masculine, whatever, it's very toxic, in my opinion. But I see why women like you, because you've got a little bit of the feminine, what you would call the feminine, like you're in
Feminine
touch.
energy, right?
Yeah, maybe it's from having a daughter, maybe it's from who you are, maybe. But I can see why, you're not a drill sergeant. I can see why women would really trust you, trust your advice. You seem kind. And I think it's very important when a man does something that women will go, okay, there's a very natural thing about that guy. And I think men too, because men, we need to step up and not go, okay, this is my role, this is my thing. But I tell you, you got a lot of great things going. You're a good dude and a great dad, obviously. And I wish you all the best. And I hope we can introduce you to a lot of people, especially in the Midwest.
I appreciate that.
Yes.
Yeah,
and what can we promote for you? Any websites? Give us your socials.
Yeah, you can reach out to me on Instagram. It's Husband's Diary with Daren. And that's also the title of the book I published a few years ago. But that's how you can find me on Instagram. I don't have any websites. Maybe I will now that I'm going full time. So stay tuned on that. But if you need to reach out to me, just hit me up on Instagram. And I'm so happy that you found me.
Thank you so much.
It was great talking to both of you. Yeah, good to meet you. All right.
Thank you very, very much.
Boris Party. Boris